Hello again, this is Olivia Fernandez, and we are here on part two of the negotiation between the Grocery Store Incorporated and Vegetable Greenhouse Corporation. So here we have 8 clauses that grocery store would include in the contract. First, we have quantity. In this clause, it is stipulated an estimated number of units to complete the contract, and these estimates are rarely exact. There should have some room for flexibility, but when amounts substantially vary from what's in the contract, a variation in quantity claim can provide relief. Number 2, the quality of product or service are the common thread between different types of companies all around the world, and is the need to satisfy the customers that give them numbers. In order to do this, they must adhere to set guidelines and requirements for their products and services to control the quality of everything that goes out to the consumer. We have third is pricing. Pricing, and it is often in both parties' interest to settle trading arrangements in the longer term. However, pricing review clauses often need particular care if it is to provide the supplier with adequate protection against risk or inflation and other cost increases. The supplier is entitled to review prices to ensure that relevant changes are passed on to the customer. Applicable changes may be based on changes in the cost of raw materials or be calculated by reference to some form of indexation. The price changes are not automatic, but the option of the supplier. We have our number 4 is deadline. If there is no specific time frame in the contract that says when the parties must perform their obligations, when there are no time limits listed, how long is too long? And how can you ensure that the obligations under the agreement are performed in a timely manner? Number 5 is cancellations. It should be stipulated in the clause by either parties and define the reason why and how. A cancellation clause stipulates who can cancel the contract, but importantly, why, and even more importantly, how. It means that how a cancellation clause works is already written in the clause itself. For the most part, a cancellation clause works by one of the two parties giving written notice of their intent to cancel. Number 6 is condition precedent. Stipulation that defines certain conditions that must either occur or be met by either party to ensure progress or execution of a contract. The contract or the relevant obligation does not become binding until the condition has been satisfied. In financing transactions, conditions precedent are the conditions that need to be fulfilled for funding to occur. Number 7 is the entire agreement. The purpose of this clause is to define the scope of the agreement and to ensure that the written contract represents the complete and final understanding between the parties involved, and to indicate that the agreement between the parties is completely and entirely represented within that contract. Essentially, a well-written integration clause limits the evidence available to the parties and should have a dispute arise over the meaning of the contract. Lastly, we have governing law. This governing law clause, also known as a choice of law clause, is intended for use in commercial contracts such as the sale of goods or services that allows the contracting parties in an interprovincial, provincial, or interterritorial transaction to choose the substantive law of the appropriate province or territory to apply to the contract. The contracting party should review the governing law clause together with the submission to jurisdiction clause, as courts look to both provisions to determine whether to adjudicate the claim and what law to apply. Next is identify one term in the contract that is a condition. Term of payment. A payment terms clause in the term and conditions is where details are disclosed, such as how the grocery store will process transactions electronically, what forms of payment Vegetable Greenhouse Corporation accepts, and what happens if the buyer cancels a transaction. Payment term clause can help mitigate the risk of non-payment, provide protection against changebacks, or leverage intellectual property rights by restricting access to content until after the customer has paid. Including payment terms will help protect the business and avoid disputes that could arise from a lack of clarity around these issues. Thank you.